Hey, we're definitely live. Let's start the show.
Welcome to another edition of Tech Fireside Chats with your host, Joel Martin. Take it away, Joel.
Wow. Hello. Good afternoon. Miss Watkins. I see Zara, but I don't see the last name. Miss Watkins is not on there. I'm just want to make sure that's the person.
It's one word, like Madonna.
Like Madonna. I like that. Oh, you know what? I'm missing something. Let's see if we get it right. OnPointExpertise.com, right? Hey, yes, I gotta fix that. I gotta fix that. It's not right. There's a little slash there. It shouldn't be there. Okay, I'm getting the hang of this. I'm rather new to it, but I thought this would be great for my personality. The show's getting better and better every day. I think I like this new format, one-on-one. And today our guest is Zara Watkins, the principal and attorney at law in New York City for OnPointExpertise.com. Guys, check this out. It's a fantastic site if you want to read her blog. And it's your blog that got my attention. I was like, you know what? I need to bring her on the show. We got to do an episode of this and just talk about what is happening in technology with attorneys, because we've had a couple of attorneys on the show. And I thought it would be great to have you because I found it to be quite funny, right? In a weird way, you have some really funny jokes. But before I even begin, sorry, I got ahead of myself. Let's introduce you. Zara, we met at a party after a hurricane.
Yeah, right. A party week.
A party week.
In a hurricane-ravaged town. In a hurricane-ravaged party town.
Which is your alma, right? You went to Tulane?
Yes, that's my alma mater. So New Orleans is my alma mater because Tulane is in New Orleans. Yes. So.
Okay. And we are both Koch scholars.
Koch Scholar alumni.
Yeah, and we took a couple of weeks off to go build homes, rebuild. I actually didn't build any homes for the poor this time. I destroyed homes. I think that's what we were doing, right?
Well, that first trip, I went a couple times. I know Koch had a few other of the trips, but that first one that we went on, that was more cleaning up. I always called it we were cleaning up because it was in January after Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's like ages ago. But and we're like a year apart in the Scholar Network.
I don't remember what year were you? I was 99.
We don't talk about age. We're not going to talk about age. I'm a young guy. I'm a real young guy.
I just dated myself, and then I
But I'm pretty sure we're like a year apart. But that was fun. That was such a great memory. We slept on the floor of a church, and there were no showers. There was nothing. Everything was destroyed. I mean, I should take more vacations like that, right? It prepares you for COVID.
Right. It was a minimalist retreat and doing good works. So I think we all had a good time because of that as well. We were doing something good for the world.
And I realized you were one of the smartest people I've ever met. And I love talking to you. I mean, we're throwing out trash and we're in the middle of, everything had been destroyed all around us in New Orleans. And we're having a great time. We're sweating and having a good time. And just your personality came through and oh, I'm an attorney. Wow, that's amazing, right? It was just great conversations. And that's why, oh, wait, you got a coffee cup. Cheers.
Oh, yes, I got a coffee cup. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's tea. Mine is green tea. So cheers to you.
Okay. Well, this is my third coffee of the day. And it's my Ghostbusters, because this is sort of a nerdy, geeky podcast, which we're going to talk about technology because I deal with a lot of people in the world that are CTOs and CEOs and legal experts in the field who are dealing with technology issues. But I do have to talk about Ghostbusters because the new movie's coming out with Paul Rudd, and it's something that all my buddies are huge Ghostbuster fans, and I had to plug them. I just love the franchise, right? So, anyways, back on track. I have a great guest who is an attorney, went to Georgetown, Tulane. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about what you've been up to. What are you doing? What are you working on? Let's talk about Zara. Let's get to the show.
Well, lately, after school, I've been working for some time, not to date myself. And I focus on appeals. I'm an appellate attorney, and I find that most people don't know what that is. So I'll just explain quickly. You go to court in any kind of case that you have. You might be in family court. You might be in the civil court. You might be in criminal court. You might be in probate court. And you have a case.
Lots of courts.
There's a lot of courts.
Yeah.
And you have a case and you get a decision, and either you win or you lose. And if you lose, you want to ask the appellate court to change the decision. So the appellate court is a secondary level of courts that looks at the decisions from the lower courts a second time, and sometimes changes the decision, a lot of times doesn't. But that's the area of the law I work in. I only do civil, though, and I do immigration. And
I know that, which is a great. I love that. But
right.
And that got my attention. I mean, you have a blog, and you've been talking about technology, and you've embraced technology, which is great. And you're talking about like there's some funny videos. You know what? Can I bring up your website? Do you mind if I do? I'm going to see control over here. OnPointExpertise, and there's a section on here that talks about education. I'm a lawyer. Cool. But the part that got me was you're embracing technology. And there's some great examples. I've been seeing attorneys that just don't know. I mean, yeah, they got their background, LexisNexis software, but you're talking about like how to use streaming software, how to be on the phone and appeal. I mean, take it away. Good. I mean, I thought it was funny, but I want the audience to understand how technology has affected everything in this post-COVID world.
Well, I have never been afraid of the technology, because one of the things that was important to me when I started my career was to not work in an office. I did for 2 years, fresh out of law school, and I hated it. And when I left that job, I was at a big law firm in Manhattan. I said, never again. I am going to work for myself the rest of my career. And so I started doing a solo practice, but I'm also I'll say avid, but really it's addicted traveler. I'm addicted to traveling.
You are? Okay, that's a good one. We'll jump on that next after we talk about your website.
It is a severe habit that controls my life. So I travel a lot, and I wanted to have a mobile practice, a practice that I could do anywhere. And so early on, I decided to get a website to be completely digital without any paper. And if you know anything about lawyers, there's a lot of paper.
Too much
involved. Too much.
Trees hate you guys.
And for all that paper, you need an office. But if you go digital, you don't need that. So I focused on the area of the law, which is appeals, where things were beginning to go digital back when I started many years ago. And now almost all the courts are digital, almost all of it. And then leading into COVID, now they're all digital. The last holdouts in some of the state courts, all the federal courts went digital some years ago. The state courts, some of the cases were digital, not all of them. But now, after COVID, after this shutdown, everything is digital, including the immigration courts. They have never been digital.
Sorry to jump in, but I thought that was a little backwards. That recently, there's still been a couple of states where they had to explain to some of the older attorneys to stop sending in things by mail because they were still using typewriters, right? Even though typewriters are cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, okay, here's the deadline where everything has to go to email. But you've not just gone, LexisNexis, you've been gone beyond that. If you click on the blog, I want to see your website. If you can share your website here, I think you have control of the little screen. Yeah. Maybe you can click on the blog portion. I love that you're doing the video blogs. And if you want to click on that and scroll down, there's some funny ones like, don't put the camera on your forehead. I mean, what was it? The light, right?
I'll start with that one because I know you like that one. So, I'll say as I'm going down, looking for that one, I have been wanting to do videos for a while, and I was just so busy and just hadn't gotten my mind around how to do it. And then in the beginning of the lockdown, my work slowed to a trickle because the courts were closed. And so I started doing the videos, and that's when I started. And now I find it's easier than writing the blogs. But this is the one that you like. This is not a video. It's actually
I'm sorry. I was
it's a post that I wrote that you liked because you thought it was funny. And I'll tell you the inspiration for this post was an oral argument, which is when you present your arguments before the appellate court. And those have never been on digital. It's not on Zoom. They use a different software. But they started that at the beginning of April. And so here you have all these lawyers, and a lot of lawyers are not tech savvy at all. A lot of the judges aren't tech savvy either. So there are a lot of technical difficulties during this. But I noticed one. I was kind of watching to see how it was going because I had one scheduled for the beginning of May. And I was watching it, and I came across this one where...
Oh, that's it. Okay, there you go.
I came across this argument where this guy... Can you see my arrow?
No, you can't see it, yeah.
Right. So he looks like he's in the witness protection program, and very early on, I figured out the kind of what I think is counterintuitive concept that you have to put the light behind your camera. He has the light behind him because he has a window behind him. So if he had just turned his computer around and had that window light facing in front of facing his face, and we would have been able to see him. But he looked like that through the whole argument, and I just shook my head and thought, this is really a sad thing. So I wrote this post, and I wanted to give an example of my argument, and this is what mine looked like: nice and bright, nice, plain.
Well, how is that? I mean, the judge, the jury, they can't see you. They're not face to face. Do you think that's affected? And please don't give me any legal advice. I know there's some rules, but just on a personal level, do you think that's as effective as being in person? Because I can see it being a detriment to some attorneys who are good at in-person cases, and in other aspects, other attorneys that aren't as confident in the courtroom, I could see it being now better for them. So has it flipped the tables a little bit for some of them?
It has been an earthquake in the legal profession.
Wow. Okay.
It's just disrupted everything, and I agree. It's a little early to tell who's really going to rise to the top as very skilled at arguments on the electronic and the digital, the virtual format. Yeah. I have watched some of the more seasoned appellate attorneys that I've seen many times argue in the appellate courts, and I've seen them, and I can tell they're struggling. They forget simple things like the camera is on the whole time you're waiting, and you can see them moving. There's just a lot of, you could tell that their mind isn't in it. They're not fully grasping the difference of the digital format. So yes, I think there is going to be a different skill.
Is that like the Texas councilman who left the mic on when they went to the bathroom back in 2015?
Was that a Texas council member that did that? Yeah. I've heard a few different stories of that happening, but I didn't know.
Yeah, and Trump just retweeted that, I think in February or something. But I mean, I'm thinking, there's so many cases of misusing technology, and so is there right now Zoom, Teams, Google? Geez, there's like 50 of them. I don't even know what I'm supposed to meet on. I'm on meetings all day long, right? This is my break. This is where I'm not doing cold calling, and I'm trying to figure out. I mean, you're saying it's an earthquake. It's changed things. Is it better for a younger generation of attorneys who have embraced the beginning? There's their adoption.
Sure. The reason the metaphor of the earth, it's something that is, and every what's going to be will be rebuilt. We don't know what to look in a year. Say, to one, lawyers, the legal profession tends to attract people who are not so savvy on with technology. I've met younger lawyers who are very savvy and have some pretty interesting things going on, but I've met a lot that are not, and that are tied to the traditional format of printing out every single document and having reams of paper on your desk and in your office, which I think is so archaic at this point.
I like that term. That's a good line. Archaic.
It's archaic. It's a better line, anachronistic. You should be able to look at a brief on your iPad like I do. I don't print a single piece of paper. I write a brief, I put it on my iPad, I enlarge it, and I mark it up on my iPad. So this is, this is not a hard thing. And then the other point I was going to make is that this is not permanent. This goes to your other question. It is really hard to administer justice online. There are important things that happen between the parties and between the judge and the parties that needs to happen in a live format. I do not see this staying. Maybe some things will. Maybe there will be an option for some cases, but we will go back to live in-person format because a lot is lost. I don't think the technology is good enough to capture the nuance that a judge needs to see in arguments.
Have you seen the courthouses, or are they embracing any technology like temperature checking, heart rate monitoring, perspiration? Because that's something we do at Code Firm with our technology. We have the ability to, as people walk into a courtroom, have full monitoring, not just like a one-to-one check, but the cameras can check people repeatedly because, you take a whole bunch of Tylenol in the morning by, 2 hours later, you might have a fever. So I find that cities tend not to embrace technology very quickly. I mean, this was, like you said, an earthquake, so they had to. I mean, I think a year ago, some lawyers across the country are still using typewriters, right? So I just don't know. I mean, are you going to feel safe going back into a courthouse?
Well, we are not going back to the courthouses anytime soon.
Okay.
I'll just say that. But I did get an email that they are going to be doing temperature checks. They have opened the courts for some purposes, mostly for people who don't have attorneys, because for some reason, it's a little ironic, but for some reason they think that people they're called pro se litigants, people without attorneys don't have access to the technology and so need to be in person. So they've decided to open the courthouses to the pro se people, even though really that doesn't make any sense because a lot of lawyers don't have the technology and some pro se people do have the technology. So they are starting to do temperature checks. I don't know what these temperature checks are. You should get in touch. I don't know anybody in the Office of Court Administration, but you should get in touch with them.
We're just flooded with calls at Code Firm, and I'm actually, this is like my little break where I've been working with the team to getting back to a lot of the leads, and Troy and Matthias are doing a great job. We just had some great conversations with a couple of cities this week, but that's my other thing. You know, I like to, again, I'm in micromobility, I'm in advertising, I'm in technology, and I'm also a Coke Scholar. We love the Coke program, which brings me back to, you just said you love traveling, and I want to take a step back. I think part of the appeal here is that you're so international. You spent time in Japan, right? I mean, and I was talking yesterday to Kyle, my friend Kyle from 302 Interactive, who just got evacuated from Japan. So that just occurred to me. You lived there for a while, right?
Yes, and well, I'm sorry to hear your friend got evacuated. What happened?
No, it was really cool. Universal Studios evacuated him, so it was a cool. You got to watch that episode. It was a good story. But tell me your story. How long were you in Japan? What did you do? Refresh my memory, because it's like we're going back like a dozen years.
It's not as glamorous as it sounds. It was a year of teaching English after college, and
Lost in Translation.
Yeah, it was like that. You know, I have to say, when I finally saw that movie some years after living in Japan, and I thought that is so accurate. That is exactly, so many scenes in that movie I thought were exactly my experience of of being a not just a white person, but a white woman. It was an interesting year. It was great. I like to say that I spent a year in Japan, and then I've spent every year since processing that year.
That is a great line. I like that. That's pretty good. That's great. Any advice for younger people looking to get into the legal profession or anything? I mean, you're doing immigration, you're doing appeals. Is there any area you would tell them to look into?
Oh, I wouldn't say any particular area, because I think everyone, I could tell you this, what you think you will be doing, you're most likely not going to do that, because you are not being taught at all in law school about what it's like to practice law. You're teaching generalities, so you have no idea. So I wouldn't get hooked on a particular area. And I would just say this, think about the lifestyle you want. That's what I did. I thought about the life I wanted to have. I happen to be someone who is not married to my work, and I don't ever want to be married to my work. I want to have a life. I work so that I can have a nice life. And so I thought about, visualize the life that I wanted to have. And then I constructed my practice. I made my practice create that life.
That's a great answer, actually. I really like that. You're full of good answers today. This is great. I love this interview. So I don't know. Let's take it in. We covered. Oh, wait. Big one, because we talked about this when I was working in New York at Brightbox. You were teaching yoga. You're a yoga instructor, which is really cool.
Yeah, I was a yoga instructor for about 10 years, and I recently stopped. And
it's hard to do a class with masks on, right?
It's funny. I think too of the, you might try to have a yoga teacher on, because I think some of the areas that are really thriving in this environment, one of them is yoga. And I'm actually taking a great yoga class on Sundays from a teacher that I met in India. And I'm taking more yoga classes than I took before, because now I don't have to travel to it. And I just go to my living room and put it on Zoom, and I see my teacher sees me. So they're really embracing it. I think they're benefiting. Another area that's benefiting is language classes. So I have spent my confinement, my, what do they call it? In French, it's called le confinement, but it's the quarantine. I've spent the quarantine studying French. So that's another area of people that are doing well now, or language teachers. Yeah, what's that?
Très bien. So, très bien. There you go. There, I got a D in French, so forget it.
Oh, I'm sure you knew more than that.
Yeah, I could say croissant, right? I mean, I spent some time in Italy. I've been to Verdun, Normandy, and Paris before COVID, right? Who knows if I'll ever go back? But yeah, I drove through the Black Forest to Germany when I was 15.
Wow.
Good story. Yeah, I went to a lot of war locations for some odd reason. Totally off topic here. So,
love those. They're like good shots.
Sorry?
COVID.
Yeah, I was going to get back to, since this show really emerged from the post-COVID world, since I used to do a lot of trade shows and talk to a lot of people, and there's no more trade shows for the time being. And I actually, being a trade show expert, I wouldn't even feel safe at a trade show right now. So unless they took certain precautions, like having full monitoring. And that's something we just need to embrace as an industry. So I think a lot of this has been, what do you need to survive in this COVID world? So I'll ask you, because you've been able to cope, you've survived, you've thrived in the post-COVID environment with your embrace of technology. What would you tell other people? Like, if you could go back a couple of months, what advice would you give people about the post-COVID world? Like any software that you're using, anything that's simplified your life, you know?
Well, I have, there's a few things. The first thing I would say to people is this is temporary. So what we're doing now is sort of, triage, but we'll come out there. There is going to be an end to this, and we'll learn things, and then we'll settle into something more permanent. But in the meantime, as we're trying to get through, I think one of the biggest issues people have is with the working from home, especially people who this is now their first time doing it. I always worked from home, so it was nothing to me. I thought, this is more of the same. But one thing that is different is actually, I would do all my work from home, but I would go to the court and I would network in person. Okay. So now I have to do all the networking online. And so that, to me, that I really wanted to up my game on that. So, one of them is the light. I have a little light attached to the back of the laptop. That's
little basic things that people just forget. Yes. Okay.
Basic things. And then I have, there's a great app called Crisp, KRISP. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if it's you, go and download it immediately.
I'm checking it out right now.
It is this app that cancels out the background noise around you. So say you're in your place having a Zoom call.
Crisp.ai. Okay.
Yes.
Right now.
Or if you're on your phone and you're outside and there's an ambulance going by, or there's something loud in your apartment, or like your neighbor or your dog is barking or something like that, it cancels all of that out on the way in so that the listener, the person you're talking to, doesn't hear it. It is amazing. It also cancels out on their end as well. So if they're outside and there's a lot of background noise, you can activate it as on the speaker part, and then it makes their voice come through clearly. That has been absolutely hands down the best app that I've been using.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's great advice. That's the type of stuff that we're looking for in the listeners. Oh, we might have gotten disconnected. What's going on here? We might have lost our guest. Okay. Our guest is back.
Hello?
You're back. Oh, we lost her. That's all the people in New York ordering their food. So we kind of slowed down the connection there. I can hear you. You might have to reconnect. Oh, it's slowing down. You're back. No, you're not back. Oh.
I don't know if that was my end or your end.
There you go. You're working. It's working. Good. We had a couple more questions. So I don't, I'm not taking any callers in today because I figured we would reconnect. There? Oh, there, you're moving. Good. All right, you're live.
I think I lost you. I didn't know if it was my end or your end. I saw the number still clicking, but okay, sorry. That was mine. It was probably mine.
COVID. Every show has technical difficulties, but we are getting better, and we're getting some subscribers. So I'm hoping that more people will join us. So besides LexisNexis and all the usual stuff, you're recommending Crisp, which is cool. So they got some advice. I would love to do another leadership summit or service summit with you with the Koch Scholars. Been going out there the last few years, sponsored it 3 years. I think it's great. I still think it's one of the best things I've ever done with my life. And meeting you has been one of the great pleasures of staying friends all these years and having a great appellate attorney in New York who could give me some yoga advice.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Here's one totally off topic. E-scooters are coming to New York. I mean, with COVID, nobody wants to be in the subway, or in the back of an Uber or in a rideshare car. You know, everybody's using City Bike. What do you think? I mean, have you ridden a Lime or a Lyft or a Bird? I mean, what do you think?
Yes, I've ridden the scooters and I love them.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of public transportation, anything that's not a car. So, but it's true. I don't want to be on the subway right now. So, you know, that was in motion before COVID, the approving these e-scooters. And I think there's some issues. I think it's dangerous in New York. I think there's going to be some.
Fair. So you think they should legislate to give like a bike lane exclusive, like in something like in Paris, like where they have bike lanes?
Maybe they would do that.
They actually protected some streets, have no cars, it's all bikes.
That's a great idea, actually. You should call the city council and tell them that.
Lobbying, right?
I don't know if they can really do that, but I mean, that would be great. I would love it to be car free in this city and everybody get around. I think that's. You know, we'll see what happens. Right now, I think people are still in the denial stage of this pandemic, thinking that it's going to end soon. And I think in another couple months, people might realize that this is going to be with us for a while. Pandemics last 1 to 2 years. Businesses are talking about things not returning to normal until 2022. So I think in a little bit more time, the city's going to start looking seriously at, okay, we need to open up streets for transport because this isn't going back to normal anytime soon.
That is like some of the best advice I've heard. And, you know, as you know, I work with Swift Mile, the e-scooter charging station. So I think it's good to get a New Yorker's opinion on that because there's going to be a lot of public commentary. And I've talked to a lot of the people at Motivate, which is now owned by Lyft, and talked to my friends at Uber. And I do think that New York is the city that will follow, other cities will follow their trend now that they're opening up to this. But it seems like COVID has been a push to push. Yeah, and especially for bike sharing and micromobility, I feel like we need this more than ever for our cities, right? So there's going to be cities that embrace technology and move very, very quickly, and some that don't. But it's interesting to get your opinion on that. Let's finish this. Let me say, what would you take with you? What do you need? Like, all you need is, maybe finish the sentence.
Take with me where?
Anywhere. COVID world. Come on. All you need is.
All I need is.
Love?
I really don't need anything. Yeah. All I need is my breath. All I need.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Good. Okay. Anything you're streaming? What are you reading? What are you watching?
I read so much, and I did recently start watching the Politician on Netflix. I don't know if anybody else has watched that one. It's okay. It's interesting, but it's kind of. I don't know. It seems like it's mocking us, the whole country. So that's kind of good because it's mocking everybody. It's just a big mock of our.
I still think we're in a simulation. I believe everything's just like we're in a movie now, which is great. I always thought I was in a movie, but now the universe proved it back to me. So it's like it's the simulation is real. It's
simulation. We're in a simulation, and you know, I find it really hard to find anything that is not completely unrelated to the political situation to be entertaining at all. But I will tell you, if you don't know already, Sarah Cooper on Twitter, have you been watching her videos? She does little short videos on TikTok, and then she uploads them on Facebook and Twitter. So I follow her on Twitter. She does these where she simulates, she takes something like a short segment of what Trump has said somewhere, like in a press conference or a speech, and then she simulates it. She like lip syncs it, but in a animated way that is absolutely the funniest thing I have seen this entire simulation.
You know, I love Back to the Future too, and I just didn't think I would live in it. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie.
I don't remember the details, but it's
okay. You got to rewatch it. It's good.
Weird.
Oh my God. Robert Zemeckis predicted the future back in like the 80s. Like Biff took over. There's the casino guy rules the country, right? I mean, it's a good movie. You know, it's got a happy ending, so it'll all work out in the end.
It will work out. It will work out.
No, I'm going over time, but I love talking to you, and it's been great catching up. And I think you should go back to teaching some yoga because you'd be good at it. I mean, you can do the class virtually now. But yeah, if anybody needs a good appellate attorney, if you're looking for good advice with a case or technical case, and we didn't even go into the type of cases. You dropped immigration, business.
I'll say again, it's civil cases in New York State and federal courts, and immigration cases, which the appeals for immigration cases are nationwide. I can do an appeal in any immigration case and from whatever district.
Well, fantastic, and you know what? You've really embraced the social media and the blog. I like the way you spell it. So I think it's great. And listen, more power to you. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
I can't wait until we can hang out again. And well, you got to build them. I only got to destroy them. But cleaning houses after Katrina was one of the best experiences of my life. And I met so many amazing people that I didn't even feel worthy of being in the same room with him, by the way. Do you ever get that feeling? Like when you're amongst the group? Like that, like, oh my God, this kid saved whales, It's
simultaneously inspirational and really intimidating.
It is. And even remotely, I talk to some of these young kids and like, what did I do in high school? I clean beaches, and I talk to them and like, I write programs for the blind. And I'm like, like I saved 10 whales. I'm like, oh my geez, like I don't feel worthy of being here with you. And you're asking me for advice because I'm older than you. I don't know. It's a simulation.
It is all a simulation. They just keep getting more skilled. They must. It's programmed.
So, Zara, OnPointExpertise, thank you so much for joining us on the blog today. And stay safe, stay healthy, and I look forward to your stories on your blog.
Yes, thank you. You too.
Thanks for watching, and join us next week on Tech Fireside Chats.